just less than 20 years after Jesus returned to his Father, we have the first debate, mainly between Peter and Paul. And that debate, which is really politely called debate, more like dispute or controversy, sometimes the history called that controversy, that dispute was called the Council of Jerusalem, the first council, and the only one recorded in the Bible, namely in the Acts of the Apostles. And the discussion was whether the Christians coming from paganism should follow Mosaic law, particularly circumcision, in order to be saved. Or in other words, whether the circumcision is necessary for salvation. And as we know, the answer was no, it's not really necessary. It's more like optional. You can follow Mosaic law, but you don't have to. And we know, like, there were two different positions. Peter, since he was serving more among the Judeo-Christians, he wanted everyone to follow those Mosaic law. And Paul, serving more outside of Jerusalem in Asia Minor, in Greece, among pagans, and those who converted from paganism, held different position. He was saying that's not really necessary to follow those Jewish traditions in order to be saved, and those Christians are not obliged to, who just converted from paganism, are not obliged to follow those traditions. And actually there is one really important thing that comes out of that reading, of that fragment of the Acts of the Apostles. And we can get that feeling when Peter speaks up that the teachings of Jesus, and we could even say that the whole Bible, is not really delivered. It's actually delivered to specific people in a specific time, but the message behind those stories, the message behind the parables, is always timeless. The message of salvation, the good news, we call it good news, is timeless. It's really important, it's meaningful to everyone. And that's why the Bible, in general, is the most popular book. And we cherish it, we all read it. And it's really important to us because the message behind those stories are timeless, and they are really meaningful to all of us. And that's where our salvation starts. And we can observe that since creation, since God created the world, when God was trying to communicate to his people, where God was leading his people, and finally when God sent his only begotten Son to save us. So that's actually the beginning of the history of all of us. And we find our lives there. We can relate to those people who are in the Bible, especially in the Acts of the Apostles, as we read that in Easter season. And we can relate to that. We can find ourselves in those situations as well. So I don't have to encourage you to read the Bible, but we can always, meditate on the specific readings that we have every day to really find ourselves in those readings and know that Jesus meant those words to each and every one of us, that message of Jesus is timeless.